Welcome everyone to episode 76 of the Circle Back Podcast, the show where three great friends get together and just talk about video games. I'm Dan LaMarca. As always, I'm joined by Dan Dufresnoy.
Dan LaMarca, thank you for having me.
Anytime, Daniel. And Shelby White is not here.
We miss you, Shelby.
Miss Shelby. Shelby is a very busy man, but he hopes to be on the next episode. But Dan, that doesn't stop us. Nothing stops us.
Don't stop me now.
We have a lot of things to talk about, actually, because it's been a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I have quite a few games I've been playing, and it looks like so have you. It's nice that we're in a bit of a slow start of the year, because it means that we're able to catch up on some other games. That we haven't been able to, maybe you've been wanting to play and you've been too concerned with playing new stuff.
Well, you know what it is? That's what it is. Throughout the year, it's like, I got to keep up with the new releases. Mm-hmm. So a lot of games, just kind of get pushed to the back burner, and having this, month or whatever to kind of just,
right.
All right, let me get back to this.
And it looks like you might have a whole nother month of this.
So it's not bad. Yeah. It's good for me, at least.
There's kind of two ways to do this lull, right? One is go back and play old games that you never played, or two, go back and play 2019 games that you never got around to finishing or you missed or whatever.
And that's the only two ways to do it.
That's it. If you do anything else, you're wrong. So me and you will just go back and forth on older games. So really, I did mostly the catch-up stuff. There's just two.
From 2019?
Yeah, there's just two older games that I did play. I played about 10 hours of The Witcher 3. And it's not because I haven't played The Witcher 3 before, because I completed it when it came out and thought it was a really great game. Me and Dan have been talking about The Witcher, and I was like, you know what it actually was when it clicked with me? Where I was like, I need to go back and revisit this. We were doing our top 25 of the generation or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And you said, what about The Witcher?
Why is that not?
Why is that not there? And you and Shelby hadn't played it, and I have. I was like, it's a great game. It's never been my game, though.
Okay.
I love this game. You got to play this game. So I went back, and I am so pleasantly surprised revisiting that game of just it's so rich in detail.
Mm.
And where it differs from a Skyrim type game for me is that I think 95% of the writing is excellent.
It's good.
It's really good. So, and it feels like Red Dead Redemption 2 feels a lot like this game.
Okay. But
this game, instead of the shit that I hate about Rockstar games, this just has more of the good stuff. You know what I mean? That's really what this is. And it's just so much fun to revisit this game. It's excellent.
I mean, replaying it for those 10 hours, is it oh man, we should have really vouched for it?
So you know what?
Our games of generation?
I would really have to finish it, but I think, again, it's interesting because the games that me and you particularly tend to favor and hold in high regard are smaller games with a really interesting narrative, or doing something new with narrative storytelling. And it's this is Lord of the Rings, so it's it's awesome, but it's almost it's too...
It's too awesome.
No, it's too, mainstream appeal. Not that it's bad, but it's too, everyone's rah-rah, The Witcher 3 is awesome, that it makes it feel it is awesome.
But you're looking for, the nook and cranny where somebody, maybe the underrated gem.
Yeah, which is weird. Maybe it's just, a psychological thing, but it's, everyone loves The Witcher 3.
We don't want to be posers, man.
It's not even that. It is an excellent game. Mm. I think, really, this is actually an interesting way to think about it. Me and you talk about Mass Effect 2 being on that list. This game is that type of game where it's hey, everyone loves the Mass Effect series. It's great. It's really well done. There's not much to complain about with it. It's just a great series. But I think, I don't know about you, but for me, I played Mass Effect at a younger, more impressionable age than I played The Witcher. So it's almost like that's my...
It's there, you're that.
Like,
okay.
oh yeah, like I remember, like I love Mass Effect.
Right,
like
right.
that was new at the time.
Okay.
With this, didn't feel, even though I played The Witcher 1, The Witcher 2, like after the fact, there's something about this game where it's like, when we make those kind of lists, it's more like, hey, this game is like really important to me.
Gotcha.
And even if I'm saying The Witcher 3 is like an amazing game and is probably one of the best games of the generation, it's not like one of my games.
I gotcha.
Like in my head canon
you can
of like...
critically be like, this is an incredible game, but it's not a personal favorite.
So, but it's weird though, because I'm playing it and I'm like, wow, it's amazing. I love it. Like it should be. But it's like in my canon of like games that are like my games, it's not one of those.
Well, so weird. I was looking up because I'm like obsessed with like numbers and years and things like that. So I was looking up. So that game came out in 2015.
Yeah.
And if you look at the list of games that came out that year, you have Metal Gear Solid 5, Axiom Verge, Until Dawn, Rocket League, Bloodborne.
Yeah.
So like it's interesting like looking at the games that came out that year, and you got some really heavy hitters there. And like I didn't play The Witcher 3, but like a game like Bloodborne, just on the surface, interests me way more than anything else there. And I think that kind of just speaks to what you're saying, where it's just like sometimes there's just certain things that you really connect with.
And the thing that's interesting is when we were talking about that top 25 of the generation, Metal Gear Solid 5 and The Witcher 3 came up in the same breath for me as, hey, these are great, but they're not my picks.
I think Bloodborne was like top 5. Like
Bloodborne is very special for its own reasons. I think personally, revisiting The Witcher 3, I would say that's one of the best. Like it is that good, that well crafted, and it's often like thoughtful in every detail. Even the smaller side quests give such a richness to that world. I just think it's really, really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun because in 2015, I mean, I was certainly thinking of games critically, but I wasn't. We weren't doing the podcast. We weren't like stuff like that. So I would be interested if that game came out now.
This year, yeah.
I would probably be championing it and saying it's one of the best games.
That's really
of the
interesting.
Year,
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'll have to get to
it's
it.
All psychology.
Next January, I'll get to it. Like
I told you still have a month.
Next January, for sure.
You also have been playing a little catch up. So, which game do you want to talk about?
So I really been. So I'm gonna save a few games for later because it kind of follows a similar vein. But I've been trying to, a lot of games that like I missed, and one game that we played a little bit of, but I know you loved. I played Return of the Obra Dinn.
Yeah, you played through it?
Played through it start to finish.
Wow. And
man, that game is absolutely incredible. I love it. Again, for like an interesting niche, just an interesting... the best thing I could say about it is I've never played a game like it. And I would, like, if you told me to sit down and create a video game, never, even at my most imaginative peak, could I imagine coming up with a game the way that game plays, the way that game, the through line through it, absolutely amazing.
So awesome.
One of my absolute favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
And even, not to give too many spoilers away, but even just the act of puzzle solving and then piecing together the story, and then the way that it also ends, where it just sort of like ends, but yet it just feels so perfect. Like these things happened. Yeah.
That's one of those games you wish you could just erase your memory of and experience again.
Yeah, I don't think that like playing it again now that you know.
Yeah.
But for me, it was those ways to solve puzzles. So for anybody that's not familiar, there was a shipwreck. There was tragedies happen on the ship, and you have this ability to go towards corpses, and you get a burst of a scene, and you got to piece together, who this crewmate was, who this person was, and just the certain nuances, like, all right, well, this guy has tattoos. Yeah. Those tattoos, where have I seen those tattoos before? Right. Oh, okay, maybe, he's the only one from this place, or this guy's got an accent from here, he's the only one, so that's got to be, him. Stuff like that is...
And there's 3 questions you have to answer for everyone. It's who are they, how did they die,
and by
whose hand.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such a genius, like easy to pick up, easy to wrap your head around. Now dig into the complexity of like the piecing things together.
Crazy.
Like so cool.
Like you said, moments where it's just like, I don't know who this person is, but then you're just like, oh, wait a second, they have a bit of an accent. Where could that be from? Or that person has, a certain tattoo, or that person,
And they kick it off very intelligently, where they're like start you off with kind of easy, obvious stuff, where it's like
Captain,
or Captain, and then a little bit later it's like my brother did that or something, and then you're like seeing the last names or the same, like stuff like that.
Obviously, that's the captain. You just called him Captain. Obviously,
I forget. It might have been when I was showing you guys, or maybe when I was showing somebody this game, because I was trying to show everybody this game when it came out. They were like, Captain, open this door, or whatever. And the person like thought that the other person was the captain.
Oh, that's probably me.
And was like sure of it. It was like, okay, so this is the captain because they said captain. I'm like, I said open the door.
But it's so genius the way. That's probably me, honestly. I'll take the fall for that. But honestly, it's just so genius, and I loved every second of it, even till the end. And it's like I said, it's disjointed, and it's not the way that you would typically get a story. And even once you get the story, it's still such a like mystery, like what the heck happened, like, and I don't know, in a way, like it's perfect because of that.
Yeah,
and, one of my all-time favorites.
I'm glad you played it, because I think it's a really special game.
I agree for sure.
The other one that I played that's not technically, it is from last year, I guess, because it fully released last year. Slay the Spire released their 4th character.
Oh, cool.
The Watcher, and holy shit, it is so cool. This game not only is just amazing as is, with at first when I started playing just 2 characters, then they added the defect, which is really cool. The Watcher has stance changes, which means like she has cards that put her in different stances. So like when she goes into, I wish I had them in front of me, but it's like aggressive stance, she takes double damage but deals double damage.
Okay.
When she goes into calm stance, there are certain cards that are like, if you're in calm stance, you gain 5 block at the end of your turn, and you can stack that on top of each other. It's also like whenever you leave the calm stance, gain 3 energy. So like you can do stuff in calm, then switch to aggressive or whatever it is, and you gain 3 more energy, and then you can just attack. It's like you're chaining things together in a way that feels completely unique to the other characters, which is really the best thing I could say about this game in general, is just how it feels like a different game depending on which character you're playing.
That's awesome, man.
And it's just so, like, such an amazing game, and it's so much fun to dip back into it.
I'm excited. It's a new character. I gotta check it out.
Yeah, you really got to check it out.
So that was one of my favorite games last year.
And I think it's free updates, the new characters.
Awesome.
So
right on.
Yeah. The other one I'll say, I've been playing more Magic: The Gathering Arena. And I mean, not only is Magic great, like always, they did a new expansion pack. It's a ton of fun. So Theros Beyond Death, really, really good cards in there. Some interesting changes to the mechanics. They've always done a great job of whenever they release a new expansion, all of a sudden the mechanics change, the meta changes, people are doing different things, certain cards are taken out of, standard play. And it's just, I always have a blast just jumping into that game.
Cool.
So now I have a bunch of catch-up stuff. So I'll there's actually one new game I have that came out this year.
From 2020.
From 2020.
Holy moly.
And I'll save that one.
Well, happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, happy New Year. I will jump into one of these. Let's talk about Luigi's Mansion 3.
Okay, because I've also been playing Luigi's Mansion 3.
I haven't played that much. I wish I'd played more.
I beat the whole thing.
Well, that's different. I played maybe about 4 hours.
Okay.
I just love it. It's great.
It's amazing.
It's a great
it's so
game.
much fun.
Yeah. It's just joyous, and it takes what you liked about Luigi's Mansion and then just keeps adding new things that are actually really fun. Like, all the new mechanics you get throughout are just awesome.
And every level and every boss is just so unique and so interesting. It is.
My only complaint, I've only taken down 2 bosses, but I think the boss fights themselves, like, they're interestingly designed. They're not always the most fun to beat. That's my only gripe with the whole game.
I feel like
okay, I get it, and then you just have to execute on it. It's a little clumsy, you know.
I feel like there's a few, especially, I'm not sure where you are on the elevator shaft, but as you get to like the middle, there's a few bosses like really really intriguing. For anybody who's played the game, there's like a movie set area, and there's like a music hall area, and stuff like that. Like really really interesting, super super awesome.
Yeah, but that's what the game is great with.
Yeah,
like just
no, but even the boss fights in there, like really really interesting and really really.
All right, cool.
I'm
excited to keep going with it. I just haven't. I've been kind of dipping around into a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah. It completely surprised me. I mean, I didn't get it when it came out. Didn't think much of it.
I mean, anyone that's listened to your top 10 knows.
Yeah, it ended up it ended up on my top 10, and that was like such a surprise, because it was like, oh man, like Star Wars Jedi is really good, and this game's really good, and this game's like, what do I? And then I just had such a blast with Luigi. I think I beat it within like a week, me and my sister, and we just had just such a good time with it.
Was she playing with you as Luigi, or you guys?
No, we just switched. All right, your hour's up, my turn. All right, now you go.
The Luigi mode as co-op is really fucking cool, actually.
Is it? Okay.
Because it allows you to have basically, you can have the person that's a little bit maybe not that experienced with games be Luigi, because they don't like die, they just come back after, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of punishment.
Right, the hit points, they just
exactly. So it's pretty cool and interesting. I think they did a good job with that, and plus it gives them something to do when it's like, hey, you need to go through that grate,
right?
Like, I can't do it. Get over there. It's a nice way to do co-op where it doesn't put somebody. Yeah. The other. If you have anything more to say about Luigi, sorry, I was just about to.
Yeah, no, just so much fun, and I really. That's honestly. That's why I love like Mario games and stuff like that. Like, just to like sit back and just like
Right.
It's not this intensive. You just have fun.
It's a nice change of pace.
It's silly in the ways that you want Nintendo to be silly. Yeah. Like it's really good.
Yeah, music's awesome.
Music's great.
What I was gonna say is another game that I played co-op actually with my nephew. He's 5. Riverbond. Have you heard of this game?
No, I can't say.
It's like an isometric like shooter melee combat. It's kind of like a Bastion type.
Okay.
It's all voxels. It looks like Minecraft-y, but everything is destructible. This game is awesome if you have a kid, because there is like no penalty to dying. Like, it's just so well designed as like a kid's game where you just run around with a sword and just attack everything, and they feel like they're really helping. And if they die, they respawn in 10 seconds. If you both die, you just go back to a checkpoint, which is right there, and the enemies still are dead that are dead. Nothing respawns. Like, it's just a really well designed. It's a simple game. I don't think it's like the best game ever. It's really good for this.
Cool.
If you have like a 4 to 6 year old that plays games, I found it was a really fun experience. Riverbond.
Cool, man.
That was just a quick little hit. Do you want to talk about any of your games, or you want me to keep rolling with?
It's up to you, buddy. I guess I'll get so. My big thing was, since I had this time off, was I was going to go back to the hard games in my life that I never actually beat. The games that. Speaking
of easy breezy, not challenging yourself like Luigi's Mansion 3.
Right. So the big one, I talked about it a little bit probably last time we talked about games we were playing, was Dark Souls. I got Dark Souls Remastered. For my entire, as long as we've known each other, I got into Dark Souls. And just for no apparent reason, just like, I think I stopped right after Quelaag, right after the second bell. And I think that was like, I don't know what happened. But because I love Sekiro so much, I love Bloodborne so much, I was like, this is unacceptable. I need to play Dark Souls and beat it. And I did, man. I beat the whole thing. I absolutely loved it. And the more and more I got through it, and this happens from every Souls game that I've played. It's like the more you like start playing it, it becomes easier just because like I'm so used to the mechanics, I'm so used to what I have to do, and I just had an absolute blast with it. One of the best games, obviously. I mean, it gets so much praise. I could just rehash the reasons why it's great, but I absolutely loved it so much. And my question for you, Dan LaMarca, is it worth playing 2 or 3?
Absolutely is the answer. Yes.
Okay.
Dark Souls 2 gets a really bad rap. I think it's probably the most interesting of the bunch when you take them as a whole, because it deals with a lot of wide open spaces, and it's a lot more about like exploring rather than like traversing through this like hard area. I think it's really cool. Dark Souls 2 is great. Dark Souls 3 feels like a very easy sequel to Dark Souls 1, where they're like, we want to do that again, let's do that again, and it kind of diminishes it a little bit. It's still a great game, obviously. It doesn't reach the heights of a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne, or all 3 are very worth playing, very much worth playing, especially for someone like you that has really enjoyed Sekiro, Bloodborne, Dark Souls now.
I'm so happy I could say the 3 together.
I would go through and play 2 and 3. Yeah. I mean, there's no rush to do it, but whenever you're like, oh, that game's on sale, let me grab it, and I'll play it eventually, that sort of thing.
I'm very happy to say that I made sure of it, that I got the happy Solaire route.
Nice.
At the end, Solaire helped me.
Gotta do that
at the end, because I don't like to look at I don't like to look at like walkthroughs or spoilers, especially my first time playing through. But there was a point where he was getting pretty upset, and I was like, oh god, he better not die, like whatever. So like I looked it up, and there's a way to like save him.
Did you do any of the stuff with other NPCs at all?
Yeah, so it's spoilers, right? That's almost a 10-year-old game.
Yeah, 9-year-old game.
Knight Lautrec.
Yeah,
that guy was a bad dude. He killed the bonfire keeper at the Firelink Shrine. So I invaded him and I got him.
Nice.
And I brought her back to life.
So okay, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, no, I brought her back to life.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of ways I can go if you remember. Like you initially, do you remember him being in a cell?
Right. So he was like in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And I opened the cell.
The cell
for
so
him.
you could just kill him right there. Yeah.
But I didn't know. I gave him the benefit of...
Did you get kicked into the pit?
I did by, what's his name?
I always forget his name too, but yeah.
He hates the... he's like, you're not a choir man, or whatever. He says something like that. Or
he gives you the kick.
Yeah.
And that's the scariest area.
I hate it. Yeah.
What is it? The grave?
Yeah, that was right after you fight
Giant's Grave or something.
Yeah, before Grave Lord Nito.
Yeah.
I hated that so much, that area, because it's like when it's pitch black.
Yeah.
And you got to walk along.
But that's where he kicks you.
Yeah.
It's so dark.
Right.
It's
like, so dark.
On.
But
there
even
are those creepy ghosts enemies that come after you.
Oh, the big pillars of like skeleton bones. But like even to get there, where there's just like a few like pieces of light, and you got to walk like this like narrow cliff. That's really, really tough. Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Anything like not hold up? Any annoying parts that you were like? Because I remember thinking of the. Isn't there an area? It might have been in a different Dark Souls. The blend. I haven't replayed through the entirety, but wasn't there a crystal area where you had to walk on invisible platforms?
Oh yeah, right before you fight Seath the Scaleless. Yeah. I feel like that wasn't that hard, because it just it
once
says,
to drop the.
Well, not even that. What?
Oh, there's things you can drop in front of you that like explode on the ground. So if you drop, this is how you had to do it back in the day, because I don't think there was any clues or anything.
Okay.
You drop something, and if it hits the ground right in front of you, you know that there's a thing. But it's purposely for that, and it'll like it's the things that you drop, and it'll scream if you die. There's an item in the game where you can drop it off a cliff. And if it lands at the ground and it goes, that means you'll die from making that fall.
Oh my gosh!
If it doesn't scream, then you'll survive it based on your health.
Interesting.
So you use those they like explode like little shards.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never used those. I used there's these little like tokens that you can throw in, they're different colors. Like you drop it. That's what I use. I used that before in that dark area. I used that to make sure that I wasn't going to go off a cliff. I didn't know about that one.
It might be the same that I'm thinking of, and I'm just thinking of a different item.
But right before Seath the Scaleless, that crystal cave area, I was just, it just said, walk forward. So you just take your time. You did see there was like crystals falling. So I knew if they fell like in front of me and they landed by my feet, I was like, okay, well that's safe.
Right.
But I got to say, the areas that everybody hates, like, Blighttown gets, there was like annoying bits. But
Blighttown in the remastered version doesn't have the frame rate issues, right?
Okay. Yeah, no, it wasn't that.
Blighttown on the initial release ran at about 10 frames a second.
It was rough.
It was like choppy as hell, and in that game you can't really have that. Like imagine in middle
That'd
of a
be
fight.
horrible. I couldn't imagine. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Who was like one of the hardest bosses for you?
I would have to think about it. I have so many memories of that game.
Yeah.
I think the Abyss Watchers. Where the whole ground is black.
Oh, the Four Kings.
Yeah.
We have to you have to get them all down before they respawn. Yeah, that was.
I remember that being. I had to do it a lot of times. You know what I remember being an early. I don't know how early it is, but it's an early memory of mine. Is that the Hydra in the lake. It's a Hydra in the lake that like spits out from far away. It's like a foresty area.
Oh, yeah. Right in the woods.
There's a pit in front of him. So like sometimes you're swinging to chop his head and you can swing yourself into the pit in the water and you can't see it. And I remember that just being annoying. Yeah, and then I mean some of the later ones I remember being really tough.
Yeah.
Seath has a thing that like basically one-shots you. I remember.
Seath the Scaleless was my hardest, at least. Because you got to break the crystal in the back first. But yeah, if you get cursed,
that's what I'm saying.
You're done. And it's so funny. I was looking up, like on Reddit or whatever, people saying like, "Oh, Seath is easy." It's like I don't know. I had really really rough time until like I learned that I just bow and arrowed the whole thing. I just got like I got a bow, I got dragon arrows, and I just stayed back and I was just able to get Seath down. But
yeah, I remember, obviously, a lot of people have this issue, but when you're in the catacombs and those things that curse you, the things with the big bulging eyes with the smoke, what are those things called?
Oh, basilisks.
Basilisks.
Yeah.
I remember that being a big issue again, this is when you're playing it for the first time and you're not reading and you don't know anything and it just came out. It's
where do you go to get? Yeah, because your health is half.
Even after you come back, yeah.
You got to get the purging stone from the weird guy we're all sinners.
I mean, that game has so many iconic moments, and there's a reason that these moments stick in your brain for the years. You know what I'm saying? I remember I have a vivid memory of the area you get to late in the game where it's like sand. It's like an old ruined town.
Oh, right.
With all the sand.
Yeah, you're right by the end, yeah.
And being like, where am I? Like, this is so bizarre. It was such a weird, different looking area.
Right, where there's actual pillars and stuff. And everything. Yeah.
And obviously...
It's like fire.
Obviously, Smog and Ornstein.
Oh, they were tough.
Really tough.
They were really hard.
That's the notorious, toughest
That's considered
boss
the hardest,
in that game.
Well, it's because there's two of them, and they're just... Yeah, that was actually...
And they're both tough.
That was really actually the hardest. It was easy for me to get one of them down.
Yeah.
But then by the second one, I used all my
everything.
All my Estus flasks and everything.
And the other part of that game is that moment of coming out and seeing the keep. Like when you come up that elevator, what's the Anorlando?
Anorlando, yeah.
You come up that elevator and you see the sun shining, and it's this beautiful golden castle. Like that moment in the whole thing, it's like this dark, dreary. See that, like
that was cool.
It was so cool.
But what was terrible about that though? Those Anorlando archers. I had a hard time getting past those guys. Those guys sucked.
Real jerks.
Those guys were the worst.
Real jerks.
But man, it was just such. Again, it was so cool as we could sit and just talk about all those experiences, and it's just like, man, remember that?
But that's what those games do that a lot of games don't have. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a consequence. I talk about why the game means so much to me. That kind of is the through line of these games. Like I could do that with Sekiro. I could do that with Bloodborne, where these areas, and it might just be a consequence that you play through them so many times. But it's memories. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like, oh man,
that was so hard.
Remember this? How crazy that was, and like. I'm thinking of Sense Fortress with the swinging things.
Yeah. Well, I remember getting into the painting for the first time, not knowing. I was like, "Whoa, where am I?" And I can't get out. Like, what am I doing?
It's just
crazy.
Pretty cool game.
I didn't fight that lady. She was nice.
You didn't fight her yet?
No, she was nice. She said, she said she was peaceful. So I said, all right, peace.
Good.
And I left. I wish I could have done the same with Sif. That was the saddest.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst.
Sif.
That was just really sad. I didn't like that at all.
Well, doesn't he run away?
No, you kill him, man, and then he starts limping towards you. That was really bad. I hated that so much. I hated every second of that fight.
All right.
He runs away? Oh, I hope so. Oh, God, please.
No, I think there's a way to let him run away.
Don't tell me that now. Don't tell me that.
We'll have to look it up. Maybe that's my imagination.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that was the worst. I seriously was like...
I can't wait to look it up because I'm pretty sure.
No.
I'm pretty sure you can let Sif get away. But yeah.
Anyway, Dark Souls, fantastic.
Pretty good game.
It was all right.
Sorry, we just talked about it for so long. All right, I'll jump in with some of the catch up I did. Anodyne 2. Anodyne is a Zelda-like top-down game that's beloved for its weird story and interesting writing. Right? I'd never played the original Anodyne. I looked things up, and I was like, do I need to play the original Anodyne before I jump into Anodyne 2? A lot of people say, no, just go into Anodyne 2, whatever. Went in, and they changed the perspective of this game to be instead of being a Super NES style Zelda looking game, it's a PS1 looking game.
Oh, interesting.
Or it's like an Ocarina of Time looking game. Like intentionally, and it's so cool looking. So you're basically traversing this world, and once you get into a quote unquote dungeon, then it becomes that top down Zelda like. The game is so fucking weird. Like, so weird. Like, you're literally going into... So, like, there are these people that are affected by this sickness. And this is, as usual, it's hard to talk... I haven't played this game in a month and a half. And I played a bunch of stuff before, after it. So it's hard for me to remember the exact terminology. But it's like these people that are, like, affected by this sickness... You go inside of their body. You shrink down to be microscopic. You go inside their body, and you like vacuum up all the dust that's like in their body. You like, clean them up, and then they are like, "Oh, thank you." Now I realize, that the way I was thinking was wrong or whatever. It's like
that's so awesome,
so weird. But the thing I have with this game is. I love how weird it is. I really like it. It's not pulling me to get back to it.
Okay.
Like, so I'm not in love with the game, but I'm like, man, it's so cool, so weird, so interesting. I think because the gameplay loop is just a little samey, that it's not like exciting me in that way. But yeah, I just wanted to shout it out because it is a cool game.
Cool.
One that has had me coming back from last year is Elsinore. Elsinore is one of the most unique games I ever played. It's what's the best way to start? So it's a time loop game in like an Outer Wilds kind of way, but it's an isometric RPG looking, like your Disco Elysium, your, Divinity looking game. But it's all about a clockwork world that goes through time, and it's all set in the universe of Hamlet.
Oh.
But it's written in a way that is like really interesting and modern, like writing with those characters and stuff. Like, it's just such a unique, interesting game.
Cool.
It's like a stage play that you can experience different parts of in each time loop, because the characters are doing the same thing.
Oh, right, each day, but every time.
and you're
I
coming
love
back and you're
that.
like, all right, I want to go see what's going on here, but you're also trying to solve, we know the events of Hamlet, right? It's like, I'm not going to spoil anything, like, this has been around for a long time.
Everyone dies.
But the way that this game operates is based on what you do, different things happen. So on my first playthrough, it's like, all right, Hamlet confronts his uncle, who's now his dad, about the fact that he murdered his dad, and then he ends up killing him. So Hamlet kills the king, and then he in turn gets killed for it, right? And then time loop resets. You go to somebody and say, "Hey, Hamlet, watch out! He's losing his mind right now." And you play as Ophelia, who is Hamlet's love interest in this story.
Spoiler alert for 400-year-old play.
But it's just so fucking cool. Like, I can't stop playing this game. I haven't had a lot of time, so this is one of the later ones that I jumped into.
That sounds so interesting, though.
It's so good. It's
what are you
so
playing
well
on?
done. It's only on PC right now, I believe.
That sounds so awesome.
But I should look into it and make sure it's not on consoles. But it's just really well written. The Clockwork World design is really cool. Like, if you just want to stand by one person, like Othello is a merchant. He's like a barkeep in the town. So you can like get into the town by doing certain things. It's like it's like an adventure game where like you're finding items or you're learning information and then using that on the next loop to blackmail somebody to get into somewhere.
Oh man, this sounds Elsinore.
That's
I gotta check this out.
It's so
my
good.
interest is really.
It's so good. It's a small game. It's like a $20 game on Steam. It's clearly made by a small team. There's some jankiness to the graphics and I think it's a beautiful game. It's like painterly art style, but the strength of it is the writing and the interactions that can happen. So basically, at the end, what sets you in a time loop is there's this all-knowing character that like knows you're in a time loop, and he like talks to you about it, and then this mysterious cloaked figure comes up and kills you, and that resets the time loop.
Okay.
So really, what you're trying to do is, who is this assassin? Trying to piece it together, while also dealing with everything else. So like that Claudius killed the King Hamlet. So then you're like going and telling his wife and seeing how she reacts to that. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that can happen based on what you and it updates. Like, you're actually changing the character's dispositions. So like it'll say, like, Hamlet now believes that you are mad or something, like you're crazy. Like, so for that playthrough, he will not take into account anything you're saying
because you're nuts.
Because you said to him like, "Man, I'm on a time loop. This is crazy. Can you believe this?" And he's like, "Okay." And then like for the rest of that loop,
wow,
he thinks you're crazy.
That's so funny. I love this so
it's
much.
Awesome.
Wow.
Like, I love it. I think it's so cool. Such a unique idea.
Oh my goodness.
And it stands on the strength of the writing. Like, if the writing wasn't interesting, this would be like a cool experiment, but not a good game. And I think it's actually a fantastic game.
Elsinore.
Yeah, we gotta check it out.
Is it to the point that you're sorry you missed it last year? Like,
I'd have to get through the whole thing.
thing.
I've only I'm 2 or 3 hours in. Absolutely loving it.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. It's really, really good.
Jeez.
Really good. And it's using. The thing people don't like about Shakespeare is the language, right? The story's good. It's been good. It's a good drama. It's like everyone knows that. It's the basis of a lot of our literature, right? So they take those building blocks and then
make it modern.
Make it written in a modern way where all these characters have... There's something about... I don't know if it's just because it's visualized in a video game, but you really get a sense of what, like, the differentiation of characters that you tend to get muddled in a Shakespearean play, where you're reading it and you're like, wait, which guy was that again?
Yeah.
In this, it's like, I know this person is this type of person and they act this way. Like, it's so well realized and like specific character to character that you really get a good sense of like what's going on.
I love that.
It's so good.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's Elsinore. What else? You want to talk about one of your games here, Dan?
Oh, right. So in the vein of Dark Souls and trying to complete games that I never beat, and I like to pick really easy games to beat. So I tried to finish Cuphead. So
How'd that go?
I beat it.
Nice.
It was really hard,
You
though.
played by yourself?
By myself, yeah. To be fair, I did have my sister help me. We went through. I needed help with rumor hunt, so I started from the beginning. I started from scratch. I was like, I haven't played this game since it came out. I'm just gonna do it from the beginning. I needed help with rumor honey bottoms.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the hardest for me. She helped. We did it together with King Dice and the Devil, because the Devil was right after.
Devil's very hard.
I thought the Devil wasn't
Really
that hard for me.
It's just long.
It's a long fight.
That's why
But
I had trouble with it.
For me, rumor honey bottoms.
Is that the bee?
That's the bee.
Beehive?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm saying these names like everybody just knows what I'm talking about. Just how much you play these games. And it's, the B level was the hardest for me, and then King Dice. But King Dice, it wasn't that King Dice was hard. It's just grueling. It's just like you just gotta
it's a gauntlet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So shout out to my sister.
What a cool thing though! Isn't King Dice so fucking cool?
It's so awesome.
That whole
and all the interesting bosses within there.
I love it.
It was to the point where me and my sister.
You kind of wanted to see.
Yeah, but we picked like the ones that were easiest for us, so we wouldn't get any like hits taken off of. Yeah. So like we were getting really good at the parries. Like 3, okay 2, and it was awesome. So shout out to Noel. I couldn't have beaten Rumor, King Dice, or the Devil without you. But
so what do you think of the game as a whole now that you beat it?
Well, amazing, and I always loved it. And I always thought. I think last time I played it, I was stuck on the dragon. I forget his name.
Mm-hmm.
That dragon level. So that was like the end of the second world.
Yep.
But I always loved it. I mean, it's incredible. I think the art style is the real. Visually, it's something that you're like, I've never seen anything like it.
And the fact that it's paired with a really well-playing
It's a tight
game.
Yeah. It's got platforming levels. It's got, incredible bosses.
It's got that Contra feel with, mostly bosses.
Absolutely awesome. But I'm just happy to say, finally another one off the list.
Isn't it funny to think about? I don't know if you remember the discourse around Cuphead when it first came out, but everyone, when it was first announced, people were like, wait, is this just boss rushes? Like, is there no levels? Like, they wanted a platformer. And the weakest parts of that game are the platforming levels.
The running guns are kind of like...
They're not as good.
Yeah.
And I think that's so funny to look back on, like, wow, it might have been a bit of a stronger game if it just was a few more bosses and no running guns.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it, though. Definitely, super unique game, and it was tight controls, and it was just awesome. I'm glad I can take it off my list. And again, thank you, Noel, for helping me with Rumor, King Dice, and
shout-outs. All right, so last old one that I'm playing catch up on. This is an interesting one. Ring Fit Adventure. Oh, you don't know what it is?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, I thought you would know what it is, but you just haven't played it. It's Nintendo first party. It's a Nintendo game, but it's a exercise game.
Ring Fit Adventure.
So
is that like where Wii Fit Trainer comes from?
No.
Oh.
Your
eyes like lit up, and then you went...
Because Wii Fit Trainer comes from Wii Fit.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
But Ring Fit is the like evolution of that idea. You can see it right over there, Dan. See that ring with the Joy-Con in it?
I see a duck.
On top. Yeah, that's just a wooden duck. So that is a Pilates ring, like a real Pilates ring.
Yeah. And
you strap the other Joy-Con to your leg, and it's an exercise game. So like you're actually playing through a level, like you're jogging through, sucking up coins by pulling out on the ring con, aiming down and pressing in to jump. Like it's just, so there's two things here. Number one, it's actually a really good exercise tool. Of course, you could do these exercises without the game, but the incentive that it gives you playing through the game is really interesting.
For those of you that can't see, Dan's actually not wearing a shirt, and he's got like an 8-pack. Like he's just like those abs.
This game is really, really neat because the game itself is really fun and cool, and it's like I like the way it looks. Cool. I like the character that embodies the ring. I like the enemy. There's this big. It's a dragon. His name is Drago. Eaux.
He's a bit French. Huh?
Yeah, he's French. But he's like a huge muscle, like bodybuilding dragon that like is always flexing while he's talking and stuff. And periodically, like as you beat each world, you fight Drago is this big boss battle. And the way the game's actually played is, so I told you about the interstitial parts where you're like running down a track, you're grabbing coins, you're breaking boxes, you're like doing stuff. It's like, it kind of feels like a Crash Bandicoot where you're like on one path and you're kind of running, doing stuff. And then every once in a while you get into an enemy encounter and it kind of pauses and it's like a turn-based combat. And the combat is your abilities, your moves are different exercises. So like they're all categorized with certain colors. So it'll be like, all right, yoga type moves are going to be yellow. Moves that are like squats and stuff like that are going to be red. I'm just giving random examples, but they're all kind of broken down. And then you choose which moves to use on which enemies, and they have different weaknesses and strengths. So like you could be like, oh, this guy's weak to blue moves. I'm going to do an overhead press. And then it'll let you, like, based on your difficulty, it gives you a certain number of overhead presses you need to do. And it grades you on each one based on the strength that you're doing it with. And that affects how much damage you're doing to that enemy. So it's like a JRPG with the extra...
That's really cool to get people, like, motivated to...
Dan, it's really cool. Like, I think it's really, really cool.
Let's do some exercise, you and me.
And it kicks your ass if you're not like, if you put it up too high too early. It's just a really, really fun, interesting game. Me and Diana have both been playing it and getting some exercise in.
It's cool.
I think it's a really cool thing.
Who says get off your butt and go outside and play? You can play video games and exercise at the same time.
Exactly. There's all the haters out there.
Darn it.
But yeah, that's Ring Fit Adventure. I think it's really, really neat.
Cool, man.
So, Dan, you have anything else, or am I ready for my game?
No. I mean, last off, I think I was telling you is that I was going to another hard game that I wanted to beat. I never beat Hollow Knight. Yeah. And I'm on the last, I forget what they're called. There's like the 3 masks that you got to get to. I'm on the last one. And I'm up to these guys called the Watcher Knights. And for anybody that played the game or, knows what I'm talking about, they're very difficult because you have to fight like 6 of them. And there's only they go 2 at a time, and some of them bounce while the other one's rolling, and it's just really, really hard. And
we're struggling.
I'm having a hard time, and
you'll get through it, buddy.
Well, maybe we'll see. Anyway, that's all I got.
Well, my game.
I should have actually started with that and then ended with like a high note, like Dark Souls. Like now
Cuphead,
it seems like I suck at video games, but it's like now
I think you're all right then.
I beat Dark Souls.
The first game and only game so far I've played that's new in 2020.
All right, lay it on me.
Temtem.
Temtem.
Have you heard of Temtem?
I've not heard of Temtem.
Temtem. So I'm going to start off the bat. I'm going to tell you what it is. You're going to tell me if it sounds familiar, okay? You are a teen that sets out on an adventure to collect and capture wild creatures. Your creatures are different elemental types, and you battle against other teens that also collect and capture little creatures. And you go to different dojos to fight leaders of these dojos to then gain access to move forward to a different area of the world. Does that sound familiar?
Sounds like Digimon.
Well, it is.
It's Pokemon.
Temtem is it's in if an indie studio. Here's an idea. You ready? MMO Pokemon. How exciting would that be? That's a pretty cool idea.
Is that what this is?
This indie studio decided to make an MMO Pokemon game.
Whoa.
So
see, the way that you were pitching it, it was like, oh, okay, we know this is Pokemon.
And I wanted to do that on purpose because that's what everyone keeps saying about the game before they play it. There are many things that differentiate it from Pokemon. It absolutely unabashedly is Pokemon. These people love Pokemon, but they want to see changes made, and they made their own game. And they did it as an MMO where you're literally... So it's interesting calling this game an MMO because what it really is everyone's playing through Pokemon together in the same world. Like you see other people running around, you can fight them, you can trade with them, you can interact with them, or you can just move on and do your own thing. Really fucking cool idea, and the game is really great. It's in early access. It launched January 21st in early access. I got in day 1. they were not prepared for how popular this game was going to be because the servers were brutal, which anyone that's ever played an MMO, if you want to get in on day 1, day 2, day 3, it's going to be like that. Yeah. That's just the nature of things, especially for the small team. Remind me before we're done talking about this, I want to talk about how good this team is at communication with their fans. Now let's talk about the game and then we'll get into that. So you start out, you pick one of 3 starter Temtem because they're not called Pokemon, they're called Temtem, which I think is a terrible name for a creature type. But I love the designs of them, cool. The art style in general, the music. I love it. It's awesome. The gameplay itself is very much like Pokemon. The change that they made, this is the big change. Number 1, it's 2v2 all the time. You get into a battle, it's not just 1v1. It's your 2 guys versus 2 enemies, whether it's in the wild or a trainer or whatever. It could be 2v1 depending on, but you always have 2 if you have 2 alive. The big difference that they made is so you're familiar with Pokemon, right? Mm-hmm. The PP, like the power points for each move, that's gone.
Okay.
Instead, they have a system of each move takes a certain amount of stamina. So there's a health bar, there's a stamina bar. The stamina bar, say you have a normal weak move that takes 5 stamina points, and then you have a really strong move that takes 15 stamina points. If your stamina bar is 20, you use a 15, do a bunch of damage to one guy. Then you use another 15, you go to negative stamina. Your Temtem takes damage based on how much stamina you went over.
Okay.
And the next turn, they have to rest because they were overexerted.
And then you get refilled stamina?
Refilled.
Okay.
The crucial thing that I love is you get entirely refilled stamina after each battle.
Okay.
It's not like you have to run back every time you're low on PP on the moves or whatever. I think it's really smart, really cool idea. I love the system. The other big difference is because it's 2-on-2, they're able to make basically an elemental system. So it's a lot of similar elements that but there's some different ones. There's crystal. There's digital is one of the types.
Oh, so it's like Digimon.
Yeah, digital monsters. But they have different interactions with. So basically, you can synergize your 2 guys because, say you have one. I have this little crystal turtle guy. He has this big crystal attack that does 80 damage or 60 damage, right? Let's say 60. If he is with another Temtem that uses a wind move before his crystal move gets an extra 20 damage.
Whoa.
So
it's like Chrono Trigger when you were able to link up attacks and
exactly.
You get stronger.
And
cool.
This is crucial to what they're trying to do. They're taking the Pokemon formula and trying to make it more complex.
Cool.
And I think they're doing an awesome job because the game is so much fun.
That's awesome.
They're doing early access in a way that I think is very interesting because they basically said, here's 3 different regions with 3 different dojos, 81 different Temtem, and each large release will release a few new Temtem and a new area. But the game that's there is beautiful, polished, ready to go, no problems. The only problem is on the server side because they're very popular and they're getting hammered with a lot of users on at once. But I think it's just such an awesome idea and it's just an awesome game. I love it.
That's awesome, man.
I think it's great.
You said they're good people? So
here's the thing. I was there on launch day. I bought it right when it came out. I was off that day. I wanted to play all day. They were having problems with the servers, and they on Twitter were constantly saying, "All right, we're planning an update. We're working on it right now. It should be out within the next half hour. We'll keep you posted when it's out." Then they say, "All right, server's about to reset. The patch is coming through, the hot fix. We're gonna do it right now." then something else will go wrong. They'll be like, all right, the hotfix worked, but we found a different issue. We're going out and doing that.
That's awesome. Like real time.
All day.
Like real time.
In real time.
Wow.
They're setting the
Mad
bar.
props, though, yeah.
They're setting
Seriously.
the bar really high, and this is how you do this.
Wow.
It made it so that I didn't care that I was in a 45-minute queue to get into the game.
Right.
I didn't care that my game was freezing when I was playing, because I'm like, they're letting me know. I can go do something else. I'm not going to just sit here. And they'll say, all right, should be a little more stable now. Try to hop on.
But it's nice to see that they care about the
awesome.
And they're working hard. That's awesome. Mad respect to that.
And the visibility of what they're doing and what they're planning for. They said by the end they want 8 different regions with 8 different dojos and 171 Temtem or whatever it is. So they're like, we're working on it. Here's the plan. Every couple of months, we're putting out a big release that has a bunch of new Temtem, a new dojo, whatever. I just think it's awesome.
That's really cool.
I love it.
Temtem.
I think it's a very smart way to do early access, and I'm really happy with the product they're putting out.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I love the designs of these Temtem. I think they're really cool, and yeah, I mean, it's totally nakedly taking that formula, but they have an idea of what they want to do, and they're changing it in the ways that they want to change it, and I think that's cool.
Right on.
Little indie studio doing their own thing. So that's Temtem. I'm excited to keep playing, and I think that's all we've been playing since the last episode. It's quite a bit.
That was a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of a lot, there is a lot of news to talk about as well. So this is going to be a larger episode than usual. You want to start with the big one here?
Let's start with the big one.
All right, we're going to start with the big one. So, there was a rumored leak. We don't know if it's true or not. But I will say right off the bat, here's the veracity to that rumor. The leaker says, and this came out a few weeks ago, leaker said the slogan for PS5 is, "It's time to play." This past Monday morning, Sony Europe changed their bio to say it's time to play. So like either they're in on a weird joke or this person actually knows things, which is very interesting because when we get into the leak and the rumors here, there's some stuff I did not expect. Do we know who that person is? Or is it
no,
it's like an anonymous Reddit post or something. It might not even be anonymous, but it's not somebody we know. So the leak, I'll just kind of read through and then we can talk. They say there will be an event in New York City on February 5th to unveil the PS5, which right off the bat, Sony did that for the PS4. They did a New York City event in February to unveil.
When did they release the PS4 after?
November.
Okay.
On my birthday.
Right on.
It was November 13th. I was waiting in the midnight launch line.
I was going to say, your birthday was the 14th.
At GameStop. Yeah, well, at 12:30 on my birthday, I was home
picked
playing
it up.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
So there's a like a hall. There's like a Sony owned venue in Manhattan called Sony whatever, where they did the PS4 launch. That's where they're saying they're gonna do the PS5 not launch, the unveiling of the console. It's very similar to what they did. They did it in February, the year of the release. So
it's coming
far,
out this year.
Seems on target. They're saying $500, single SKU, no options. It's just here's the PS5, $500. That's what they're saying. Backwards compatibility with all PS4 games,
which is amazing.
All of them.
Right, you could play PS1
digital,
games on there.
From what I'm hearing, digital and physical. Then it says backwards compatibility with PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP games. Unfortunately, not Vita, but the rest of them are compatible. So I don't know the system that they'll have for that. This will be the interesting part. Are you just putting in a PS1 disc into the PS5
it'll work, yeah.
and it'll work? Or are you downloading, are you trading in your licenses and getting digital versions? I have no idea about what they're doing with that. DualShock 4 controllers will work on PS5.
Great.
That's good. PSVR will work on PS5.
Great.
Launch games that will be unveiled at the event include Gran Turismo 7, MLB The Show 21, Demon Souls Remastered, which has been long rumored by being made by Blue Point, the ones that made Shadow of the Colossus.
That's another one I gotta get now.
Godfall, that one that we saw briefly at the Game Awards. And Legends with a Z, being made by Sony Santa Monica. So they said that those are the launch games that will be announced. Said they will also tease the following: a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, a sequel to Spider-Man, a new Crash Bandicoot game, a new sci-fi game from Naughty Dog, Final Fantasy 16, and a new Resident Evil game. All being announced.
Dan, I'm very excited for February 5th.
So here's the thing. This is the fun part. So I'm not done with this. I mean, I'm mostly done. But the exciting thing is either we're going to be very wrong on the next episode, and we'll talk about that, which will be interesting, or we get to unpack all this stuff and really get into what we saw.
We're not sure if this is actually
Of course. Yeah, we have no idea. This is all the rumored leak. Again, that's pretty... The fact that they knew that it was called It's Time to Play means they have at least some insight into this. They also said that Horizon Zero Dawn, they will announce that Horizon Zero Dawn will be on PC. They'll launch it that day. So on February 6th, they'll say it's available now on PC.
Okay.
Which is interesting because Sony, that's a first-party studio, and they're putting it out on PC. The thing that gets me excited and curious about the future of these kinds of things is we know Microsoft's putting all their games on PC. So I don't need an Xbox.
Right.
If I have a PC. Is Sony going to start putting out all their first-party stuff on PCs?
Then do you need the PS5 anymore?
Right, that's the question.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is I don't know... I really don't know if... We've heard for a long time that these companies don't make a lot of money on the consoles. Their margins are very low. They make a ton of money on the games. So it makes sense from a business standpoint to put it out on other consoles. And obviously Microsoft is putting their games on Switch. Mm-hmm. So we're starting to see some weird blurring of the lines here because everyone just kind of wants to say, hey, if there are people that only own an Xbox, why wouldn't I put it on Xbox? If there are people that only own a PC, why aren't we putting our games out on PC?
Right, and then, you get the profits from the games.
So it's very interesting. It's got a lot of big fanboy babies very upset that
they want their
they
console,
feel betrayed by this.
Console only.
For some reason, I truly don't understand it. I truly don't. It makes no sense to me why you think that you should be
the only one to play a game. Like, you would think though, if you love the game, like if there's a game that I love, I'm like, I want everybody to try this game out.
Yeah.
Like, why would you like?
How many of these games that every time I say it's only on PC to you, I feel terrible because I'm like, I want you to play this. It's just a weird fucking thing. I don't get it, but
So they're upset that there is no, only for.
Yeah.
Remember how like the GameCube had the little only for like in the corner, like.
Yeah. Well, that was a much more important thing before, these bigger consoles wanted. Yeah. Phil Spencer's very transparent about the fact that he wants everyone to be able to play Microsoft games. He's like, I just want everyone to play it.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be only people that can afford an Xbox. So, what do we think about all this? I think the backwards compatibility is pretty great. It sounds awesome. I'm very curious to see how that works.
Yeah, because you know what?
PSPs were UMDs. You remember UMDs? Did you ever have a PSP?
Never had a PSP, but were those little like chip things? Those little?
No, they were little discs like this big that were inside a plastic container that had like a little opening to read the disc on. So it was like a little cartridge, but it had an actual disc inside.
Interesting.
It's the weirdest thing ever. This is so embarrassing, but it's true. I loved my PSP. I literally would buy movies on UMD. Like they sold movies, like Sony Pictures movies, on these fucking things,
to watch it
and I
on
could
your
only
PSP.
watch it on the PSP,
Yeah,
and it was the same price as a regular movie. It like made no sense, but like I had a bunch of them for some reason.
That's awesome. Do you still have them?
Just a weird kid. No, absolutely not. I don't even have my PSP. Things happen when you're a kid.
So. But yeah, it is gonna be interesting.
That's awesome. I think having DualShock 4s work.
Perfect.
But it helps so much with the cost of the console. Like, all right, I have to put down $500 and then games and then 120 for 2 controllers. You know, $200 if I want 4 of them.
If the console already comes with a controller, then you're good. Then you're like, oh great, I have.
And then you have the rest.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's so good. Xbox already said they're doing the same. And then when you think about the games, so the launch lineup, I think Demon's Souls Remastered. So they have long teased. Bluepoint has teased. They're working on a remaster. That's the most exciting thing to them in the world. And like a lot of people were guessing different things. Demon's Souls was one of the most common guesses. So for this to be a launch PS5,
that'd be awesome.
It'd be fucking awesome.
Wait, so all those games that they're mentioning are launches?
So I differentiated it when I said it, but I'll say it again to you. The Gran Turismo 7,
right?
MLB The Show 21, Demon's Souls Remastered, Godfall, and that Sony Santa Monica game Legends.
Right, those are the launches.
Those are the launch games.
And then the rest
are being unveiled.
Right.
Sequel to Horizon, obviously.
Which we knew that was coming.
I mean, of course. That game was a huge success. Mm-hmm. People love that game. Sequel to Spider-Man.
We knew that was coming.
New Crash Bandicoot.
That's pretty cool.
So my guess is the Insane Trilogy did incredibly well, which we know it did. Crash Team Racing Remastered did incredibly well. That studio...
Bluepoint?
No. Bluepoint didn't make... it was Vicarious Visions, I think.
Okay.
Which is a Activision-owned studio. I believe. I could be wrong on this. I think they would be the ones to make it because they said when they released this, I remember there being an interview where it's like, what do you want from this? Do you want to do other remasters? And they were like, we want to make a new Crash game. So like, if this sells enough, maybe we get to make a new Crash game. So I think that's really cool because they did a great job on that. Those games
for sure, man,
are great. New sci-fi game from Naughty Dog.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Really interesting. So I'll be curious to see what that's all about. Something like that is just going to be a teaser. Like that's not going to be anything substantial because Last of Us Part 2 is coming out yet. Yeah. Final Fantasy 16. That's that's just a bizarre like. I can't even imagine that because this Final Fantasy 7, has taken so long, and 15 came out.
15 came out in 2015.
16, I think.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah, but could you imagine they're already Final Fantasy 7 is going to be like a few parts we know already.
It might have even been 2017.
Oh, okay, that late.
Oh, you gotta look it up.
But anyway, still, for like a new Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
While this is all happening, that's interesting.
It's weird. And a new Resident Evil.
Yeah, that's also interesting.
Which is cool because I think 7 was excellent.
Yeah, and if they go the same direction that they've been between 7, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3.
They're on such a roll
you know
right
what I mean?
now.
Like,
yeah, I'm super happy with that.
That'd be pretty cool.
So some exciting stuff. Again, they said February 5th.
But you never know. By next episode, you're right. None of this might have happened. And
which is interesting on its own. Because they will have an event. It's just a matter of when it is and what they show. So whenever that event happens, we'll see how on point this is. All right, next. Kentucky Route Act 0 or Act 5. Kentucky Route 0 Act 5.
Kentucky Act 5 0 Route.
And TV edition are out this Tuesday, January 28th. So Act 5 has been long awaited. I think Act 4 came out in 2016. Long awaited. And for those of you who don't know what Kentucky Route Zero is, if you have any interest in anything Twin Peaksy, really great writing and prose in video games, which we don't get a lot of, it's a superb series, and the TV edition is coming. That means it comes to consoles as one package, which is really fucking cool. So
that was 2016. It was that long ago we were talking about it?
No, Act 4 came out in 2016. Act 1 came out in 2012.
Okay.
Like, it's been a long time coming. I was playing through them in like 2017 or something.
That's what it was. Okay, gotcha.
2018 even. So yeah, if you're interested in that at all, that's freaking awesome. So I'll be talking about that on the next episode, I'm sure. Next one, delays. Cyberpunk 2077 bumped from April to September 17th. Final Fantasy VII bumped from March 3rd to April 10th. Dying Light 2 bumped from spring to TBD. Marvel's Avengers bumped from May to September 4th. So lots and lots and lots of delays.
Yeah, the big one for me was Cyberpunk.
Yes, me too.
But it's also good in a way.
Well, here's the thing. This is what I want to talk about right now is there is a big discussion in the industry of forever what we used to say, like smart consumers, we used to say, that's fine. Delay your game, make it good, take the time you need, whatever. What we're seeing now, and I'm seeing it specifically with CD Projekt Red, is that delaying a game leads to more crunch because the idea is, hey, at least there was a light at the end of the tunnel for April, and we're crunching hard to get there, but at least we were done then. Now we have an extra
to crunch
5 months to crunch.
All right, that's not good.
And there was an interview with CD Projekt Red. I don't have anything in front of me about it, but it basically, they were like, yeah, we'll be crunching. Like they just said it like flat out. So there have been a lot of articles lately about, like, from ex-game devs saying delays are good for the game, but they're bad for the people making the game because it does lead to more and more crunch. You're moving the goalposts, but you're not.
Right, it's not ideal.
The ideal delay is, instead of crunching, we're going to bump it back 6 months and work our normal hours and have good mental health and not worry about it. And then get the same product out that we would have got out 6 months earlier if we had been crunching, That's not really the reality of it because, a capitalist society only operates one way. But that's just an interesting aspect that a lot of times we don't consider, when I have been guilty of in the past of, hey, take the time you need, don't worry about it, make the game good, take your time. I'd rather a polished game than whatever. Not considering the fact that this could be something that would happen.
Right. So what you're saying is it doesn't actually solve the issue. Pushing it back, just
right. Well, it would be. Think about the optics of this. Hey, we're delaying a game 6 months so that we can take our time and not crunch.
Right, which is beautiful.
It's beautiful from a labor standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
It's not these same people that get angry about everything on the internet. You think they would like their game being delayed 6 months just so that the people can have their time?
Well, that's the problem.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, I can't imagine the world right now where someone says, hey, we're going to delay this game so that we can take our time with it instead of crunching. I can't imagine that right now. That's how it should be.
That's just terrible that's how the industry is just formed, though. And that's how...
And there are plenty of studios that do not crunch, and they should be applauded and raised up more, rather than just saying, because honestly, the truth is, any big studio is crunching.
I know, and that's the problem, is that, they're the most hyped game, so they're still, getting the money. They're still getting that positive reinforcement for crunching because they're still getting all the money for it. So it doesn't change the actual culture of the...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it because I still buy those games. So it's like, it's like...
Well, yeah. That's always the dichotomy of this thing is like, what's your point of saying no to something that you want on principle? Everyone has their own watershed point. So it's like, what are you going to do? Like, for me, it takes something pretty severe where I'm like, oh, fuck those people that are making this game. I'm not playing it now. But, it's a hard thing, man. It's a hard thing. But, I don't feel that we are the most well-equipped to talk about the ins and outs of that kind of stuff. But I will just say, any time that people are crunching, is just a real shame because, they should be able to work a healthy number of hours and still put out a game,
It's just a toxic thing in the industry.
Yeah, unfortunately. So the Half-Life games, all of them, are free on Steam until the release of Half-Life Alyx.
That's really cool.
That's really cool. So, that's just such a smart thing for Valve, but also just a really nice thing for people that are like, I'm younger. I never played through the Half-Life games. This is a lot of people that want to play Half-Life Alyx. Think about it. If you're 20 years old right now, you would have been 4 when Half-Life came out. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole audience there that wants to play this game that may have never gotten around to the originals. So they're completely free if you have Steam until the release in March. They don't have the exact date in March set, but they are saying Half-Life Alyx is releasing in March, so the rest of the Half-Life games are free until then.
Cool.
Pretty cool. Lastly, we had a Smash Direct. And guess who the DLC character is?
Our favorite character from Three Houses.
Why couldn't they just do Edelgard and make me happy? So
why do another Fire Emblem character? Oh my gosh!
I know this makes 9. I believe.
Is that the most out of any franchise?
Yes. Actually, Mario has the same, but
it's not only.
Are
you counting Donkey Kong?
I don't know. We would have to look at a chart, but. Well, let's think about it. Luigi, Peach,
Bowser,
Dr. Mario, Dr. Mario, Toad. No Toad.
Piranha Plant.
Daisy?
Daisy's not a...
No?
No.
I'm thinking, who else? That's 7.
Oh, Bowser Jr.
Rosalina. So that would be 9. That's the same as the Fire Emblem characters. But Luigi has his own games.
Yeah, Wario has... Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Fire Emblem, where it's these are all just characters from the games. And Byleth is the silent protagonist.
Well, they did it with Robin and...
But I just don't get that. The thing that I like is that they made her moves correspond to each of the houses. So, she has the legendary bow that she doesn't move with. She has a legendary lance that she doesn't move with. She has a legendary axe that she doesn't move with. So she's incorporating the 3 houses, but how fucking cool would it be if it was a Pokemon trainer type and it was Edelgard,
and you could choose between Claude, Dimitri.
Claude and Dimitri. Imagine it was the 3 of them and
That'd
you could
cool.
switch between them.
See, but honestly, I would take away Robin and Corrin and Byleth, but actually put actual character
Yes. I agree.
From the games.
The reason they do this is because they can make them a slate for that game. So their idea is this is our 3 houses character, not hey, we all love Byleth.
Right.
They're hey, we have a bunch of different stuff about 3 houses. How do we make that into one character? Really, it would have been more interesting if they just went a different route and didn't do another Fire Emblem character. But anyway, she looked pretty cool.
Banjo-Kazooie's awesome. Have you played?
Yeah.
Banjo-Kazooie is really cool.
Yeah, so
and I gotta say, I really like the from Dragon Quest. His skill set's so cool.
It's so cool. That random
with the magic and everything. Yeah,
and you get 3 random choices.
Yeah.
Oh,
really awesome.
Love that.
That's really cool.
But they're doing great stuff. I'm not. This isn't souring me on Smash. I'm just man, do something really, really interesting for us. But yeah, I think that does it for the news, and therefore does it for the episode.
Wow.
Dan, thank you so much for being
Thanks
here.
for having me, buddy.
And thank you guys out there for listening. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully on the next one we'll have that event has passed. So
we'll know if that's real or not.
Yeah, we'll be able to see. I hope our math's right on the calendar because I think it might be wrong. It'll be the 2 episodes from now. But anyway, thank you guys. And keep your ears and eyes peeled for the next episode of the Circle Back Podcast. Until then, peace. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching and or listening. Just here to remind you that you can find us by searching for Circle Back Podcast or Circle Back Gaming on any of these podcast services: Anchor, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker,
Pocket Cast, Radio Public, or Stitcher. My God, I'm out of breath because of all these podcast services, but you can find us anywhere there. Also, you can find our video version on YouTube by searching Circle Back Podcast or Circle Back Gaming, and the rest of the videos we do. Thanks, guys.